My first time using was when I was 20 years old. After I had my son, I I've seen my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law use it in front of me, and I've seen many of my family members use it in front of me, and I always wondered what it was if they were smoking. So one day, I asked my baby's dad if he could go and get me some, and he got me a dime bag. That's when it all started. After that day, I got hooked. I never thought I could get hooked, and I did. I did it basically because it helped me move around faster and kept me up. I lost weight, and I did it just for the fun of it, I guess. And I've been through a lot with meth. I've done it for three and a half years. I've been through raids, everything. Back in 2002, I think it was, I got busted in a raid in Holbrook, Arizona. Then they took my son's dad, and they took me. They got us at gunpoint, and the bad part about it was my mom and my son were there to experience the raid because they raided us in front of them. And I just remember my mom asking why they were holding us at gunpoint, why they were taking us and stuff like that. And I just told her, don't worry about it, I'll be home later. She had no clue what I was doing. No one in my family had any idea what I was doing when I was on drugs. And they never knew where I'd get money from all of a sudden. I just have money. I went and we robbed houses, we sold guns, and we wrote bad checks. Recently I went and pled guilty to Class 3 fraud and a Class 4 trafficking. We got busted selling over 50 firearms in the Holbrook area. The cause of meth causes you to abandon your family, your spirituality, and yourself. You start to not care about yourself. You don't care about the way you look. You don't care about the way you eat. You're basically unhealthy. You're unfit. In my case, I'm a mother, and I was a very unfit mother. I remember times when I'd leave my son alone with my mom just to go out and do drugs, and I'd be gone for days, sometimes weeks. And to this day, it hurts me because I left him. The whole time I was in jail, he was alone with my mom. It just hurts deep inside because I hurt my baby. And all the meth in the world ain't worth losing him. I've been through basically everything. Gangs, drugs, alcohol, everything. And it's not worth it. It's not worth hurting your family. More, it's not worth hurting yourself. Everyone follows you around when you're doing all that. I've had DEA follow me everywhere. And it's hard because you have to look over your back every minute, everywhere you go. It's just not worth it. Right now in my community, right now on my block, I see a lot of kids doing it. When I first moved here, I was the only person with my light on at 3 a.m. in the morning throughout the night. And now everybody, just about everybody, kids of all ages. There's a 13-year-old around here who does that, who does meth. It's basically everywhere. It runs everywhere through here. And there's dealers everywhere where you least suspect it. There's dealers of all ages. Of all ages. I know a lot of young people. Just on my street, there's about 3 people that sell just on this one street. In the whole block area, there's about 6 6 or 8 in this community. There's a lot of dealers in this area. There's a lot of dealers that run through this area, and I know most of them, and I've dealt to most of them myself. One time, I OD'd once, shooting up. I OD'd once. I was doing it for a couple of days, and when you're on meth for a couple of days, you kind of go stupid. You forget things, or you just don't care. Your brain cells die on you after a couple of days without no sleep. And anyways, I was at my friend's house, and he was filling up the syringes, and he was too busy doing his thing. I grabbed his syringe instead of mine, and I remember he had 65 cc's in there, and I was only used to doing 20 cc's. And I remember I shot up that 65 cc's, and I dropped. All I remember is dropping to my knees, and I remember the room just spinning around. It is weird. It's like being on a really fast roller coaster. And the next thing you know, there was liquid running out my ears, and all I could hear was my heart beating so fast. It was really scary. What made me decide to quit? I mean, it's a jail time. Being away from my son. Before, people tell me if being away from your son would make you want to quit, why didn't you quit before? Because you were gone for like so many days away from him. Why didn't you quit then? I think jail is a real big reality check for some people, because you're sober and you realize what's going on in your life and what's going wrong. You have a lot of time to think in jail. Lots of time. In jail, I mainly thought of my son and my family. When I got out of rehab, 3 days later, I went with one of my friends to buy a pound. I went and bought a pound, and I did some of that. And from there on, I started doing it again. And that's what led me to jail. I got a dirty UA. I tested positive on meth, and I went back to jail. Then when I got out of jail, I went to rehab again, and this time I think I was more dedicated to it. And at the first week, because I was a volunteer, I went in there voluntarily for my own. When the first week I was there, I was trying to leave. I found myself trying to leave, telling myself I don't need this. And I remember telling one of the counselors there that I knew very well, I'm tired of this. I've heard the same thing over and over and over. And the one thing that really caught me is when he told me, well, maybe sometimes you need to hear the same thing over and over. And I thought about that a lot, and I decided to stay. And I stayed, and I completed my time in rehab. And this time, I've been clean for a year. It's a good feeling.